Easiest way to do it is about a gram per pound of body weight. It does fluctuate depending on how much body fat mass you have as well. So again, the recommended is 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein. Now for fats, typically it's anywhere from 25 to 30% of your total calories for the day. And where you get those fats is kind of up to you. Lastly, carbs. Carbs kind of fill in the remaining of your calories, whatever you have left. All right, so that's the easiest way to break it down. All right, so let's say, for example, we're getting 2,000 calories a day. Let's say, keep it easy, we weigh 200 pounds. So that's 200 grams of protein times 4 is 800 calories from protein. Your fats will make up 30% of that. What's remaining, which would be about 1,200, and then your carbs kind of fill in the rest. All right, any questions on that so far? All right. So, in terms of energy expenditure, so when we are looking at weight loss versus weight gain, there's a lot of bullshit out there in terms of like fad diets. Oh, you have to intermittent fast. Oh, you have to do keto. Oh, you have to do carnivore. Oh, it's paleo now. There's a lot of bullshit out there, and it's kind of my job to decipher out what is true and what isn't for you guys. It's very difficult, especially this day and age with the internet and everything else. Everyone's trying to sell you something. Everyone's trying to do this. Everyone has an initiative for the most part when they're talking nutrition especially. So the only true way to lose weight is calories in, calories out. If you've heard anything else, it's unfortunately not true. People will say, oh, I've cut my calories down for 2 days and I didn't lose any weight. What happened? Your body it's not that easy. Your body's very fluid. It adjusts to the calories you give it. All right. So talking about just weight loss, let me grab a napkin so I can erase this. Talking just about weight loss. So 1 pound of fat has about 3,500 calories. All right. So in order to lose a pound a week, you essentially need to be in perfect world in a deficit of about 500 calories a day over the course of 7 days is 3,500 calories. All right. Now, with that, again, that's in a perfect ideal scenario. That's not always the case. Some days you're going to be higher, some days you're going to be lower. As long as you're the same at the end of the week, that's all that really matters. All right. So what we're looking at is what's called your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. The biggest piece of that is your basal metabolic rate. So the way I equate that is your BMR is essentially the amount of calories you burn doing absolutely nothing. So that's just the amount of calories your body needs to stay alive. Now, the more muscle tissue you have, the bigger you are. All these factors play into your BMR. That's the biggest driver. So the more muscle tissue you have, you do burn more calories kind of doing nothing. Hence why we promote strength training, muscle building, protein, all these things. All right. It is also why, ladies, you guys get pissed at the guys when we start cutting because we lose weight very quickly. It is because their BMR is just drastically higher. More muscle tissue, testosterone, all these things, they kind of play into just more calorie burn. But that does not mean we are not in a different deficit than you guys. We're still in the same caloric deficit. That's how it works. All right, so you have that. You have your exercise activity. So the amount of calories you guys burn in the gym. Most of us have a tracker on here. However, I do not want you to track necessarily how many calories you burn in your workout. These are drastically inaccurate. They will either severely overestimate or underestimate how many calories you burned. There's like a 20-30% margin of error on your fitness trackers. All right, so don't take the number that's on there to heart. It is a good motivator because you are seeing that you're burning calories, but they are slightly inaccurate. All right, so you have that, and then you have what's called NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity. So that's your fidgeting, your steps through the day, all these little small movements that you're doing, and that's typically what actually helps with weight loss almost the most is just, getting 10,000 steps a day, walking more, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. All these little things start to add up. All right. And then lastly is the thermic effect of food. So your body actually needs to use up energy in order to break down the food you just consumed. All right, and that takes up about roughly 10%. Protein has a drastically higher thermic effect of food than fats and carbs. Protein is like 9 to 10% of the calories you just consumed will be used to break down that protein. Fats and carbs are like 2 to 4%. All right, so much lower. Proteins also has a much higher satiety as well as fiber, which is why those two are like arguably the most important. All right, so basically what I will do for people is I have my own formulas, but based on all of these numbers, at some point, not initially because it's too much, you will get a set number of calories that I want you to hit every day in, day out. I don't throw that at you at first because it's overwhelming, it's too much, especially with all the tracking, the weighing. It's very overwhelming trying to hit your macros perfectly, which is why like week 1, it's purely protein intake. So your goal is just to get into the habit of tracking, monitoring your protein intake, and actually weighing your food. All right. So, any questions on that stuff?
How do you determine your BMR?
So that's dependent on height, age, weights, sex, all that stuff. But I have formulas and stuff I can throw in. Yes.
So you said how many calories to burn or to lose weight is
3,500. Again, this is like it's all for all the maths. You're in like a chamber. Everything is perfect.
Yeah.
3,500 calories is a pound of fat.
So does the calories you burn during a workout, does that go towards that or no?
And that goes into your total daily energy expenditure. And then, so let's say, your BMR is 1,500. You burn 500 in your workout, so you're at 2,000. I'll give you an extra 200 for non-exercise activities, so we're at 2,200. And then, roughly another 150, 200 for your food. So your TDE would be about 2,400, meaning I would put you at about 1,850, 1,900 calories to get you down roughly a pound a week. Now, in terms of weight loss, everyone gets kind of set on the 1 pound a week, or 2 pounds a week, 3 pounds a week, whatever it may be. I've kind of switched up how I look at things, and I prefer to go off of percent body weight. Because again, it's not person to person. It's me losing 3 pounds is drastically different than you losing 3 pounds. It could be way drastically different. So instead of saying my goal is to lose 1 pound to 2 pounds a week, we go off of body percentages. So the goal would be either 0.5% or 1% of your weight per week, if that is your goal. All right. Now, in terms of what actually matters. So this is kind of called like the weight loss pyramid. At the bottom is sustainability and adherence. All right. Nothing else matters if it does not work with your lifestyle. I don't care how clean you eat. I don't care if you take all these supplements. None of that matters if you cannot stick to it. All right. That's also why I typically don't give out meal plans. Necessarily saying you need to eat exactly this, and this every meal, because most people it's fucking miserable, and nobody eats how I eat. You guys don't want to eat how I eat. It's psychotic. All right. So the goal is to work with each one of you to make a diet, we'll call it a diet, that fits your lifestyle, but something that you can sustain after these 6 weeks. This is not a 6-week quick fix. This is something to build momentum, to sustain you guys, and to keep it. So after these 6 weeks, it's not like, oh, well, that was fun. Right back on to what the fuck I was doing before, Next is calories. Unfortunately, at a certain point, the math is what it is. You cannot get away from what it is, all right? After that, we have our exercise. So again, you guys should be in here a minimum of 3 times a week for an hour, hour and a half. Ideally up to 5 or 6 times, depending on your schedule and what works. Now, what I don't want is you guys to go all of a sudden from 3 days of lifting, you're barely fitting that in your schedule, to saying, I'm gonna do 6 days. Completely unreasonable, all right? If your goal is to build up to 6 days or 5 days, that's fine. Start with 3, get that going. In 2 weeks, add a 4th day in. Once you can sustain that, then add a 5th, then add a 6th. Don't throw the whole kitchen sink at yourself. You'll be way too overwhelmed, all right? After that is self-monitoring, all right? So that is through tracking your food and weigh-ins, all right? You will need to track food. You will need to weigh your food. This does not have to be a permanent thing, because I understand that it is very tedious, it is very annoying, it takes up time, it's not sustainable to do all the time. However, if you have not measured out like a serving of peanut butter, actually depressing how small the serving of peanut butter actually is. All right, same thing with pastas, rice. It is upsetting how much calories are actually in it, and that's when people are like, oh, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating, this much rice. I don't know how much rice that is. I can't, it's hard for me to tell you where you're going wrong if I can't see the hard numbers. If you're just guesstimating and saying, I'm eating this much rice, this much protein, I can guesstimate roughly where you're gonna be at, but it makes it very difficult for me to actually determine what's going wrong. All right. Now, in terms of weighing in, again, completely individual. I understand some people freak out with the scale. Some people like to weigh themselves all the time. Some people, it psychs them out too much. They can't look at the scale. The most I allow clients to weigh in is 3 times a week on non-consecutive days. All right, your weight is going to fluctuate. It's going to do this all the time. Even if you're on point perfect, you're gonna have days of regain and days of weight loss. All right, it's never going to be a straight line. All that matters is that the general trend is down. But you're gonna have days you're gonna be higher, days you're gonna be lower. All right. Next is protein and fiber intake. So again, protein, about 1 gram per pound of body weight. Where you get that protein is kind of up to you. You can do shakes, lean proteins, and again, try to stick to lean protein. You don't want to eat super fatty meats. Only from like a purely satiety standpoint, it's not worth the calories. So fatty red meats, fatty ground beef, that kind of stuff. Opt for like the 94.6, 93.7 ground beef, 99.1 lean ground turkey, white fish, chicken breast, seafood, that kind of stuff. All right. And then for fiber, that's your fruits, vegetables, whole grains. And your goal minimum should be about 30 grams a day. That's across the board. But ideally, your fiber intake should be about 15-ish grams per 1,000 calories. All right, so if you're eating 3,000 calories, 45 grams. If you're eating 2,000, 30 grams. All right, keeps you regular, keeps you very healthy. Fiber has actually been shown for every 10 grams of fiber is a 10% decrease in mortality. So fiber is very, very good for you. Eat your fruits, eat your vegetables. All right. Past that is your fats and carbs. Again, fats 25 to 30%. Try to pick, healthy fats, avocado, fish, that kind of stuff. My least favorite food that people eat when they're cutting though is nuts. Don't eat nuts. Not because not healthy for you, but because you get 6 of them for like 300 calories, and it's not filling. It's depressing. They don't taste that good. It's not for me. I'd rather eat cheese. All right, but to each their own. Pick your poison. And then last, top of the pyramid, the one I care the least about, that most people care the most about, is supplementation. All right, there's very few supplements that actually work. I'll touch on them in a little bit as well. The big ones that work: caffeine, creatine, whey protein. That's it. Everything else is pretty much not bullshit, but it's not necessary.
What was the first one?
Caffeine.
Caffeine.
Mm-hmm. Wait, like pre-workout, stuff like that, because it helps you perform better in the gym. That's the biggest reason. Now, in terms of like multivitamins, fish oils, If it's within your budget, by all means. If it makes you feel better, again, by all means. If you have a vitamin or mineral deficiency, by all means, please take those. But do not self-diagnose yourself with a magnesium deficiency unless you've gotten blood work and actually have it shown. All right, that's the big one right now. Everyone's suddenly low on magnesium. I don't know where this whole thing came from, but everyone's supplementing magnesium and they have no fucking clue why. In terms of whey proteins, again, pick your poison. All right, not all whey protein is created equally. We do have whey protein here. We have a whey concentrate and a whey isolate. Biggest difference between those two, a whey concentrate is they all come from milk, basically the curdling process. It's like the excess, the leftover. It's like the best protein source, like pound for pound. Whey concentrates do mess up most people's stomachs though. They get super bloated, super gassy. Again, completely normal. I can't take whey concentrates. My wife doesn't like it. It's not a good situation. However, whey isolate is taken one step further in the processing, so it takes a lot of the lactose out of it. So it's a lot easier in terms of digestibility. So most people have a much better time with the whey isolate. All right, and then creatine. Pretty much everybody should be taking creatine. A lot of people get concerned. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get bloated. I'm going to do this, do that. The most weight you would even consider gaining from taking creatine is maybe a pound, if that. It helps with endurance, helps with strength, helps with muscle building, helps with cognitive function. Females, it can help with reproductive health. There's a lot of good benefits on creatine. It is the most researched supplement on the market, and it is drastically cheap. All right, don't go to like Vitamin Shop and get like some fancy creatine, whatever the fuck. It does not have to be flavored. All you need is a basic creatine monohydrate. All right, it's only 3 to 5 grams a day. No need for a loading phase, nothing like that. All right.
Where can we source creatine on a regular food? Where can we find it? Is that a supplement?
Creatine? Yes. It's primarily in red meat, but you'd have to eat a lot of red meat to get the amount of creatine you need through food. Hence the need for supplementation. Yeah. Pill or powder.
You take that on your days you're not working out as well?
Yeah.
Just 7 days a week?
Every day. Because essentially with creatine is you're trying to saturate your muscles with it. So, which is why for a while everyone was like, oh, you have to load up on creatine. But it messes with a lot of people's stomachs. At the end of like 30-day block, whether you took 30 grams at the beginning or 5 grams every day, at the end of the 30 days, you're kind of within the same window. So if you're looking for a supplement that to help with endurance, strength, muscle building, cognitive function, creatine is kind of one of the best you can take. And again, all you need is a basic powder creatine monohydrate. I get mine off Amazon from Bulk Supplements. It's an orange and white bag. You get like 100 servings for like $20. All right, very cheap. All right, any questions on this stuff? All right, so again, the most important thing is sustainability and adherence. Now just again touch on fad diets a little bit. Fasting right now is the one I probably get the most questions on, because everyone is like, oh, I did a 72-hour water fast and I feel great, I lost 6 pounds. You didn't fucking eat for 3 days. You know, like, and there's all this stuff now on insulin resistance and autophagy, which is your body just getting rid of dead cells. But at the end of the day, all that matters is calories in, calories out. It is all the same at the end of the day. However, if intermittent fasting works for you because it gives you a limited window of eating, then we'll do that. If you need a specific diet to help you adhere to what you need and help you maintain, that's a different story. Not everybody is meant to be on the if it fits your macros, which is my favorite, essentially meaning I don't care what you eat as long as you hit your numbers. Some people get a little carried away with it. Some people need a little bit more regimented. Again, it is person to person and whether or not you can be trusted with certain foods. All right. Some people just can't control themselves, and it is what it is. Just avoid it. If you can't, I'll have like 2 Girl Scout cookies. Okay. Okay. There goes the sleep. You know. Now, in terms of eating out, stuff like that, again, this is meant to be something that's sustainable. We all have parties, go out with friends, but shit happens on the weekends. It's my job to help you guys, like, guide you through that. So a lot of the times what I recommend is, you know, let's say you're going out to dinner one night, really focus on protein and fiber, keep your fats and carbs to a minimum, assuming you're gonna get most, if not all of them, with your dinner or wherever you're going out. Now, you can also manipulate your calories throughout the week. If you know you're gonna go on a fucking bender, take some calories from the couple days prior out, so drop your calories up to said event, again, assuming you're gonna go over, and then drop your calories the days after to kind of get yourself back on track. All right, this is not meant to be super restrictive, but again, not unless I need to make it restrictive. All right, this is meant to be something that you guys can sustain and do for a long time, not just for 6 weeks. All right. Now, in terms of goal setting, a lot of people, especially in the new year, it's new year, new me, you know, everyone tries to change everything in their life. And it lasts about a week until they're fucking miserable, and then nothing changes. Oh, I'm gonna eat healthy. Oh, I'm gonna go to bed by 8 p.m. I'm not gonna watch TV anymore. Okay, you just took all the joy out of your life, and that's why you're not sustaining it, all right? So, in terms of goal setting, we do what's kind of called SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and within a certain time frame. All right, so for example, 6 weeks, my goal is to lose 6 pounds in the 6 weeks. That's specific, it's measurable, it's more than reasonable to lose 6 pounds in 6 weeks. It's realistic, and there's a time frame to it. All right, you can have larger goals if your goal is 20 pounds, whatever it is. I don't want that to be necessarily the goal for the 6 weeks. All right, to lose that amount of weight takes time, because you also don't want to crash diet and lose weight too quickly. Once you start getting into like 1.5–2% weight loss, you risk losing lean tissue, which we don't want. Unfortunately, when you're cutting weight, you're always going to lose some muscle tissue. It's how it is, which is also why protein is that much more important, because you limit how much lean tissue you're actually gonna lose. So when you do lose weight, again, it is not all fat weight. The goal is, so typically, like for every pound you lose, 20-ish% can be lean tissue, which is why you bulk and cut, to put on muscle, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle. But for goals, again, don't try to throw everything at yourself, which is why we're gonna do small micro goals every single week. If you're hitting those goals every single week, I can give you something else to focus on, but I'm not going to advance you until you can prove to me you can at least get your protein in. It doesn't make sense. If you're not doing the basic of hitting your protein, it doesn't make sense. Okay, now get your fiber in. Okay, now get your fats. Okay, now hit your carbs. Now do it for 5 of the 7 days. It doesn't make sense if you can't get your protein intake in. All right. Then after the 6 weeks, we will have like an individual, like one-on-one 30-minute session to kind of go over like next steps. I'm a believer that in this country, for the most part, that we don't have necessarily a weight loss issue, it's a weight regain issue. Most people can lose weight. That's the easy part, but most people can go on a crash diet and lose, 5 pounds. The hard part is keeping it off. The hard part is what you do after. So, whether your goal is to continue working with me or working with Ryan, whatever the case may be, is figuring out what the next steps are to get you either on maintenance or to continue progressing the weight loss or switch to a muscle building phase. Again, it's completely individualized what you guys feel like you want and what you need. All right. So typically with cutting, your weight loss should not go for more than 8 to 12 weeks. Mostly from just a mental health perspective, it gets depressing towards the end and you really just want like a cheeseburger or something. So typically what I do with clients, as long as you're doing everything you're supposed to do, if you are on point for 6 to 8, 10 weeks, and more than likely your weight loss may plateau, we do what's called reverse dieting, in which I slowly give you guys more calories until we get to a new maintenance. You go on a short diet break, and then we reassess. And if you want to go back into a weight loss phase, we do that. And then we can program in like a week of maintenance, 5 or 6 weeks of weight loss, week of maintenance, 5 or 6 weeks of weight loss. All right, this is not meant to be a cut till summer situation. It's not sustainable, it's not reasonable. Your body will hate you. All right, so one of the things that happens as you cut weight, and the reason it gets progressively harder as you cut weight, and the reason why you feel shitty as you're cutting towards the end, is your body gets very good at stretching those calories out. So you don't necessarily go into like a starvation state, but basically your body kind of freaks out because its only purpose is to survive. It doesn't care if you're shredded or if you have a lot of muscle tissue. Your body does not care how you look. All it cares about is homeostasis, right? So as you get towards the end of a cut, you might feel kind of shitty, brain foggy, fatigue, all these things, and you may stop losing weight. That is because your body's stretching those calories out, getting the most bang for their buck. So essentially what reverse dieting is you slowly add in 5 to 10% of your calories every week until you start gaining weight. And then we drop down just a little bit to get you into a maintenance level. And whatever your new maintenance is what your new maintenance is. For example, I had one client, she was cutting weight. I was dropping her calories until she got to about 1,400, and I didn't want to go any lower than that based on her activity level, everything else. And she was also stopped losing weight. So I said, okay, I think it's time for a diet break. Let's do this. So slowly started getting her calories back, got her up to about 1,800 calories, and she started losing a pound a week. Doesn't make any fucking sense. The body is very finicky, very tricky. It's not your guys' job to decipher out what's happening. It's my job. All right. The purpose is to make this as easy as possible for you guys. It's not. The goal is for you guys to do as little mental math and mental thinking as possible. Also, please trust the process. You may feel like you're eating a lot of food. That's the intent. The goal is not to cut weight and eat little teeny tiny servings. The goal is to eat as much food as humanly possible for the calories you are allotted. All right, so eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of lean proteins, all that kind of stuff. All right. Questions? Not a single question. Nothing? Go.
Is the idea that we should eat the same meal plan every day for this period to keep it consistent?
You don't have to. If it helps you, by all means.
But I mean, should we plan our meals ahead of time?
You should plan your meals ahead of time. So one thing that's very helpful is tracking your food a day ahead of time, just so you can kind of map it out. Because once you eat those foods, it's too late. There's nothing you can really do about it. So tracking ahead, weighing ahead, meal prepping, all these things help drastically. Now, I do understand some people cannot eat the same meal day in, day out. You do not have to. So what I will send you guys at some point is I put together like an Excel sheet essentially of 20 different foods of protein, 20 different sources of carbs, 20 different sources of fats. And at the top will be 10 grams of fat, 20 grams of fat, 30 grams of fat, or vice versa with the protein and carbs. And you just go straight down the Excel sheet and it'll tell you exactly how much of said food you need for those grams of carbs. Right, so let's say you need 40 grams of carbs for your lunch. You have a couple of options, not sure what you want. You can go to the Excel sheet, see how many grams of potatoes you need to get those, how many grams of rice, all those kinds of things. So that's kind of how I prefer mapping out meals, is saying, you get 2,000 calories a day. You want it over the course of 4 meals. How much protein do you need in each meal? How many carbs do you need in each meal? How much fat do you need in each meal? And every meal should have about a cup of vegetables. All right, so a lot of food. Questions, yes?
So I don't know if you talked about it when I was over there, but the amount of water you should be drinking.
If your urine's clear, you're fine. Don't force it. That's one thing people get so hyped on. It's like, I gotta drink this gallon of fucking, they have everyone's got their Stanleys now and all this other shit, which has lead in it, by the way. Watch your Stanleys. So as long as your urine is clear and you feel hydrated, you're not cramping up, don't force it. The other thing that is getting a lot of hate right now is aspartame diet beverages. Please drink diet beverages. They save you. Yes, because they help with satiety, they help with sweet cravings. There's actually a lot of research showing that it's more beneficial than water in terms of weight loss, because it inhibits you from eating or drinking all of these other different kinds of foods. So don't think aspartame is, because it's on the list of drink your Diet Cokes, fucking go for it.
Just one little luxury.
Yeah, you just need a little taste. You gotta have it. I drink diet stuff all the fucking time. I'm not obese. So don't feel like you need to avoid diet beverages. That's like my biggest pet peeve. People are like, oh, no diet beverages. Fucking water. So another thing you can do is aminos. Aminos aren't my favorite supplement. However, if you struggle getting enough dietary protein in, they can be beneficial. Or if you're doing fasted cardio, fasted weightlifting, they can be beneficial. And for my alcohol drinkers, again, if you're going to drink, mix it with aminos. It's a great low-calorie sweetener. And you get a little bit of protein in, and the protein actually helps you break down the alcohol, and there's some electrolytes in there, which also helps prevent the hangover. So if you're gonna drink, at least mix it with some aminos.
But what's an example of that? Sorry, I have to go to business dinners, and that's where the weight comes in. It's like 4 bourbons.
Well, they probably look at you. They probably look at you a little weird if you're bringing a shaker, like a bottle of like aminos, and start throwing in your bourbon. So I'll say this about drinking. If you're going to drink, again, this is like monitor yourself. This is not medical advice. Drink quickly. Drink hard liquor. You're gonna have to stomach. Get the job done.
It doesn't matter if it's brown or it's tequila or that doesn't make
No, for the most part, hard liquor is about 70 calories per shot.
Wow.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Beers, your light beers are about 100 to 200 calories per beer. Your IPAs are like 300 to 400.
Can you do a diet soda with it?
Yeah. If you want to use diet sodas and mix it too, that's fine. Any 0 calorie, low calorie. I know people are gonna drink. If I tell you not to drink, it's not gonna make you stop drinking. Just make it work within your calories. Track it ahead of time. Your alcohol will take away from your carbs and your fats. It will never take away from your protein. But again, if that's how you choose to use your calories, that's fine. Just don't overdo it, and understand that if you take, you only get 2,000 calories a day, you use 400 up of that on alcohol, you're probably going to be hungry. All right, which is why I typically recommend either limiting or just getting rid of alcohol while you're doing it. If it is unavoidable, like you said, you're at business dinners, have 1 or 2 instead of 3 or 4.
Go have one. I get it.
And just
Everybody has some magic.
and just drink it fucking quick.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get drunk, just fast, empty stomach, hard liquor, and then ride it out. Any other questions? It's true. If that's the goal, you fucking just get it done. Any other questions? Anything you guys have seen online that you have questions about that I have not called bullshit on yet?
Time of day stuff with the eating.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. For example, I work, 12 hours at the hospital. I get home and eat basically until I get a stomach ache. And then I go to bed and I wake up and repeat. It does not matter when you eat your calories. We can get specific in terms of when you train, and you can manipulate your carbs based on that. But that's something to do down the line once you get the basics down, and then we can kind of get a little more specific when I want you eating more carbs or less carbs. Because it is better to kind of carb up before your workout, and then a little more protein after, that kind of stuff. But, yeah.
Does it matter how many meals in a day you have?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, again, to get very specific, ideally is about 4 to 5 meals, just to keep your anabolic, your muscle building window kind of going. But as long as you hit your protein for the day, hit your calories for the day, eat when you can. If it's 2 meals a day, then it's 2 meals a day. If it's 3, it's 4. It is what it is. It's dependent upon what's achievable in your lifestyle and what you will actually keep doing. I'm not going to make you eat 6 meals a day if you don't want to eat 6 meals a day. It just doesn't make sense. If you want to eat 3, then eat 3. It's completely on a individual, personalized level. Yes.
So you said we have to be in a deficit, so basically create a typical menu we would have, look at the calories and then subtract. Like how do we establish the baseline?
I'll give you the baseline. But again, that won't happen week 1 or week 2. That'll happen once you can prove to me that you're getting enough protein in, you're tracking your food, you're weighing your food. Because again, I have algorithms and like calculations I can do to get a rough estimate. However, I want to see actual data on you all individually because that gives me a much better representation of what your calories actually need to be, right? Just because you weigh the same as the person next to you, me could be the same age, the same everything, you would get roughly the same amount of calories to start. That does not mean you will sustain or maintain those same exact amount of calories. Because if you're not losing weight on 1900, then we got to readjust. If you're not losing weight on 24, whatever it is, we got to readjust. So it's all completely individual, person to person. Everybody's different. So it's hard to give just like a blanket. Everybody's 2,000 calories. Questions? Yes.
So I don't eat meat,
Okay.
so I know definitely not getting enough protein.
So right now I'm on a huge Fairlife protein shake kick. The pre-made, you can buy them. The ones I get are the white bottles, the 30-gram protein. You have at Costco, BJ's, or Sam's Club. If you don't have those memberships, you can go to Stop and Shop or ShopRite. They have the 26 and the 42-gram protein options. And that's just, it's hyper-processed like milk protein.
I just don't hate.
That's fine. Again, whatever you enjoy drinking, whatever you enjoy, like whatever tastes good to you, is completely fine. For me, the Fairlife shakes taste like chocolate milk. It's like Yoo-hoo. So that's more up my alley. In terms of like protein bars, the goal is to find the protein bar with the highest amount of protein for the lowest amount of calories. So my favorite right now is the Bearbell protein bar. They're about 20 grams of protein per. It's a little chewier with a little bit of crunch. So again, if you're a texture person, or the Quest has like a crunch bar, also very good. They have like Oreo, chocolate peanut butter, and very good.
RX bars.
I don't like the RX
I
bars.
don't like them, but I do it.
I
I don't love the taste of them.
don't eat them. Don't eat them. The only reason I don't like the RX bars is that one's like only 5 ingredients, and it's like your ingredients are like shit I would never eat individually, and there's hardly any protein in it. So it's just eat the processed stuff, man. It tastes better. It's not bad for you. You're not gonna die from it. It tastes better than this organic. They just throw buzzwords at you, So eat the bar, the highest amount of protein, lowest amount of calories, high in fiber that you enjoy. Don't worry about the ingredients. Don't go reading nutrition labels, trying to decipher out what all these ingredients are, because that's also a big thing right now. Is people just going into grocery stores, grabbing a box of whatever the fuck, and saying, "Look at this ingredient. It's bad for you," because they can't pronounce it. Okay. My favorite thing is to bring up the ingredients of a blueberry. So if you're in your free time, look up what makes a blueberry, and you tell me if you saw it on a nutrition label, it wouldn't scare the shit out of you. All right, it's just chemicals are chemicals. Everything's a chemical. So just eat what you enjoy that's within your calories and helps keep you satisfied. Don't worry about if it's all organic, grass-fed beef, all this other nonsense. Eat what you enjoy. All right. Other questions? Yes.
So when's the proper time to take protein shakes,
Whatever you want.
I do see people taking protein shakes before the workout or after.
Don't do it before. You're gonna throw up.
Or
Honestly, if you're in terms of like protein timing, yes, you do want to get some protein in after your workout, but don't think it's like a race to the finish. Like, oh my god, I just finished the workout, I gotta get my protein in, my anabolic window's closing. It doesn't matter. As long as you get your protein in throughout the day, you're pretty much fine. And for those looking for more like the performance route, a good simple carb is good. prior to exercise. My favorite Rice Krispies. Rice Krispies are actually fucking great for like pre-workout. Not for cutting, but for performance. But yeah, protein timing, not a huge deal.
Like the milk. Or the treats.
No, like the Rice Krispie treats, like the bars, like them with the marshmallow.
Just check.
Yeah, because it's super simple carbs, quick digesting, doesn't bloat you.
I'm in. I'm just saying.
You get great pumps from Rice Krispies. Other questions? Ashley pulled out a Rice Krispie treat. You were supposed to eat it before the workout. Other questions for me? Anything you guys have seen online that you have questions about? Because I know there's a lot of bullshit out there. Oh, don't get me started on Carnivore MD. General rule of thumb, if you see a man in a grocery store, skip. Just next video. A man in a grocery store, next video. Don't even fucking bother. It's just, yeah, it's all fear mongering. It's all nonsense for the most part. You can't hide from thermogenics at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it is calories in, calories out. I don't care how you get said calories, as long as you are satisfied with the food you're eating and you're not starving. Now, the only issue you'll run into is, yes, there will be some hunger built in, but part of that will be, you may be full but not satisfied. You got to try to control that. We all have been to the point where we're very full from a meal, and then we're sitting around and go, I need something sweet, even though you're full. We've all been there. So there are low-calorie snack options you can get as well. Greek yogurt ice cream bars. I love the Yasso bars. They're 100 calories a piece. Popcorn is a great snack because it's high volume. You're eating it for a while, so it feels like you're actually doing something. Greek yogurt with berries, that kind of stuff. Try to stick to mostly whole foods, especially at first. Don't get crazy with recipes or anything like that. Try to stick to the basics. So first week, every meal should have a lean protein source, a carb source, and a vegetable or fruit. Pick your poison. But don't get super complicated with all these recipes. Find food you enjoy, Mexican, Asian, whatever you enjoy eating, and just make it work within your calories. All right.
Yogurt, do you use non-fat or full fat or?
I like the Oikos 000s the most. Those are my favorite. That's what I eat mostly of. But I know the Dan and Light and Fit are really good. Those are only 80 calories a piece, and it's about 12 grams of protein. But yeah, try to stick to the zero or low fat. And if you don't like the taste of plain Greek yogurt, especially because I sure as hell don't, just get the flavor. It's okay. It's all right. Any other questions?
Any limits on coffee?
No. Here's your caffeine. Just don't add sugar and shit to it.
A little bit of white coffee.
Get distracted.
Does coffee have calories?
Coffee does have some calories. It's like 30 calories, 40 calories per cup. It's not.
Measuring that?
Yeah, it's been a cup of coffee. Like it doesn't have to, that's the other thing too, guys. Like, it doesn't need to be so hyper specific. Like, there is always going to be a little bit of fluctuation with it. Again, the goal is to make it sustainable. If you feel like you don't have to you do that much more. You don't have to don't track that. Don't track it that much. It's not worth it in your coffee. All right, or if you drink a Monster has 10 calories, just call it. It's not worth it.
Did you say something about cream in your coffee?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying.
Try to not use it, but unless you're like just like a dash, like a little splash of creamer, that's fine. But if you're equal parts creamer to coffee, that's kind of
What I need to get in my day.
that's kind
I
of.
got it in my calories.
As long, hey, if that's how you want to use your carbs, a little bit of your fats,
That's what makes me get up in the mornings. Is my
then who am I to take it away from you? Doesn't make sense to. If that's how you want to use it, that's how you want to use it.
Coffee flavored milkshake.
But it's not cold or hot ice.
But also a great trick is to mix your coffee with a pre-made protein shake. Tastes pretty good. Protein coffee. But one of the biggest things will be meal prepping. Set yourself up for success when you go to the grocery store. Try to map out you know, how many meals, you guys will have to do some mental math with this as well, you know, so try to figure out how much protein I need, how many ounces that is in terms of, you know, when you go to the grocery store. So, you know, let's say you're making, you know, a chicken dish, you need 4 meals, you need 40 grams of protein per, it's about 6 ounces of chicken per meal. So for 4 meals, you need about 24 ounces of protein.
So I always get confused with this. Do you measure it before you cook it or after you cook it?
It doesn't matter as long as you do it consistently the same way every time.
Okay.
It's a little more accurate cooked, raw.
Okay.
But I have in the Excel sheet I'll send you guys, I have options for raw and cooked protein.
What about like frozen veggies and stuff?
You don't have to track that.
Don't try that.
If it's like 20 calories, it's like you could track it, but it's gonna be about the same as it would be not frozen.
Okay.
So just put like, you know, a cup of peppers or whatever it is.
Okay.
But
You mentioned a lot of options that are like the fake sugars, the aspartame, and that stuff. I really can't, or very much just like this all I have, and I get headaches or whatever.
yeah,
So, yeah, any tips?
just don't drink them.
Water, not cold.
Yeah, if you know something doesn't agree with you, just scratch it out. Is it aspartame specifically?
It's most of them, except for stevia.
Alright, there you go. Unfortunately, when it's like Diet Coke, low calorie Monster, all like the good stuff. So if it fucks you up, it's not really worth it. Other questions?
No good?
Almost. There's nobody has any, yes.
I heard something recently online about, you know, cooked versus raw vegetables, one being not jet-based.
Yeah, it's BS. Again, you don't want to get, like, nutrition is a very deep rabbit hole, and I don't want you guys going down it, because it's so fucking confusing, and there's so much bullshit out there. You'll literally scroll on Instagram, you see one guy saying, eat only meat, and then the next post is, meat gives you cancer, eat only vegetables. And it's like, come on. So, don't go down the rabbit hole. Just eat what you enjoy, eat vegetables, eat fruit, eat lean protein. It doesn't matter if it's cooked, raw, frozen, it's all essentially the same.
Something that I've been seeing that I was not confused about, but just questioning is to have more salt because it keeps you hydrated.
Oh yeah, everyone's really big right now on the crack of pink Himalayan salt in your water before you work out. Most people will get enough sodium in their diet.
Okay, so that's something to add into your diet.
Unless you're cramping throughout your workouts, then I would just get a light Powerade or a 0-calorie Gatorade, something
Okay.
like that, as opposed to drinking salt water. It just doesn't taste very good. But yeah, don't get crazy with that kind of stuff. It's not worth it because it doesn't taste very good. Any other questions for me? No? We're good? Nobody has a question?
Not yet.
Oh, come on. No, it's all good. Well, that's why we're doing this now, because I'm sure if you have a question, somebody else has had a similar question before.
How are we gonna communicate with you?
Ryan's gonna get you guys all set up with this app called Trainerize, and I'll give you all my personal cell number, and just text me your first and last name, and then essentially what I'll do is do weekly check-ins. So kind of just send you guys like a checklist of how the week went, and based on that, give you recommendations on what to focus on for the next week. I'll also be requesting food logs. So MyFitnessPal is my preferred app of choice. It's the most user-friendly. However, please do not pay for the MyFitnessPal premium. It's bullshit. There's no need for it.
Last question.
Yes.
So at Costco, they have the avocado spray and avocado oil, but the oil has calories, the spray doesn't.
So that's the trick. So the tricky thing about 0-calorie sprays is they still contain calories.
You just have to spray longer.
So can I just get the oil then?
No, get the 0 calories still.
Okay.
So if you read the fine print on the 0-calorie, it will give you calories per seconds of spray.
Seconds.
So basically they project how much of the oil will actually come out based on how long you're spraying for. So still purchase the 0-calorie, 0-calorie sprays. However, realize that there's like 1,000 sprays per bottle. So they make it zero. That makes it such low calorie that it's essentially zero. But if you hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, it's roughly 10 to 20 calories, but still drastically less than cooking in oil. Please don't cook in oil. Don't use butter. Don't use olive oil to cook with. I know olive oil is a healthy fat, but people will, like Justin, will be like, I'm not losing weight. I don't know what's happening. I'm like, what'd you cook your food in? 3 tablespoons of olive oil. That's your fucking fat for the day. So yeah, I know olive oil, yes, is a healthy fat. However, 1 tablespoon of olive oil is 15 grams of fat. If you only get 45 grams of fat per day, I personally am not wasting a third of it on a tablespoon of olive oil. It's just not
How
worth
do you
it.
make your chicken breasts or shrimp?
Air fryer and 0 calorie spread. Or grill it.
But in salads, instead of using dressing, I'd probably use 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
There's 30 grams of fat for you.
Yeah, but what do you do? Eat a dry salad?
No, just get again, find a low calorie dressing you like.
Squeeze lemon on it. Stacy, squeeze lemon on it.
Boom.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Or red wine vinegar.
Just a low calorie
Dressing.
dressing that you enjoy and can stomach.
Would balsamic vinegar be a good dressing?
Correct, yeah.
That's the biggest downer of the day.
Listen, if that's how you want to use up your fats for the day, by all means, but you're gonna be hungry.
Okay.
What about beans?
You're fine. That's your carb source for the meal. Beans and nuts and peanut butter are not protein sources, by the way. They are carb and fat sources, that just happen to be high in protein. But yeah, beans are fun. Just don't get crazy with like rice and beans, because again, 1 serving of rice, which is only a 1/4 cup of dry rice, very depressing, is like 45 grams of carbs. So for me, I typically use rice when I'm trying to put on weight, but will switch to white potatoes when I'm trying to cut weight. White potatoes are the most satiating food possible that you can eat. You get a shit ton of volume for the calories. Very good. White potatoes. Or sweet potato. Pick your poison. I prefer white potatoes though. Other questions? I'm sorry. That's not what you wanted to hear.
Wheel is turning on the lemon and the balsamic.
Yeah, or just find a dressing that's 10, 20 calories per serving. But yeah, also weigh any sauces. Like keep an eye on that stuff, because it's all these little things that sneak up on you that you don't realize. Is all like these sauces, dressings add up very quickly. If you're using olive oil. I know, it sucks.
You're not gonna be really mad at me, because that's gonna be like.
If that's your fat source, that's your fat source. It's all good. You're gonna be hungry. I hope it's a fucking massive salad. Like a whole Olive Garden. You're gonna be hungry. But again, it's very personalized. You guys are all different. You guys all eat differently, which is again why I don't give meal plans. I don't expect anybody to eat like the other person. I don't expect anybody to eat like me. I live off of protein powder, oats, and chicken nuggets. It's just how I do things. I will also try to send you guys like eat this, not that like options. So for example, my chicken nuggets, I get the real good chicken nuggets from Stop and Shop. It's a white bag. It's like 2.5 fat, like 3 carb, 24 protein per serving. Super quick, super easy and convenient. Can go in the air fryer, and they actually aren't that bad.
Do you need an air fryer to make?
No, bake them, microwave them, doesn't matter. Buffalo sauce. Well, my kick right now is buffalo chicken wraps. So I'll do 2 servings of the real good nuggets, which is 48 grams of protein. I'll do either 0 fat or reduced fat mozzarella, so that's another 7 to 8 grams of protein with little fat. And then you can do it on a low carb wrap, and it's actually very filling and actually tastes pretty good. But hot sauce is actually one of the best condiments you can use, because it's like 10 calories. I will, I will also be sending you guys some recipes that I use that I cook for my wife, that I also meal prep for her. But like the big kick we've been on too is like at home Chipotle. So I'll do my own Chipotle and adobo and grill it and just onions and peppers, a little bit of rice, and then like a cilantro lime slaw, and it's like boom, it's like 6 meals easy. Cabbage is a very good volume adder, so you do like some sort of slaw on top of whatever it is you're eating. But I will start sending you guys like some recipes to kind of just give you an idea of what to help prep. Yes.
So I do everything wrong based on, where do I start? I guess just.
Protein.
Okay.
Keep it basic. That's why I'm not like, okay, you're gonna get 1,500 calories, I need you to hit 150 grams of protein and 120 grams of carbs and 50 fat. It's too much at first. So I want you just to get into the habit of tracking and weighing, hitting your protein goal, and then based off of that, it will kind of, your carbs and fats will kind of fall into place. Nothing's gonna be perfect at first. There's gonna be a steep learning curve at first. It just kind of is what it is, but this is meant to be a learning experience and something that you